Can two stories be similar? Can they also be different? Sometimes authors can write two different stories, but they have similarities like in plot, characters, settings, or themes. Hello, fantastic heroes! Welcome to Hero Academy. In this lesson, we're going to learn about writing similarities and differences of stories using Venn diagram. Now, do you think that two stories can be similar? Can they be different? Maybe they have differences in characters, plots, or settings. Or maybe they can also have similarities in, what do you think? Maybe in plots, themes, or the problems that they have in a story, right? Now, let's take a look at this Venn diagram to help us to identify between two stories that we are familiar with, like in these traditional fairy tales, Cinderella and Snow White. Let's take a look at the story of Cinderella that you have read or maybe watched, and then you think that they have similarities with another movie or a story that you have watched or read before, right? Now, in Cinderella, it has an evil stepmom and stepsisters. And then, this one we're talking about the characters. In Cinderella, they have characters of evil stepmom and stepsisters. And in Cinderella, it has a problem. The story has a problem for the character, the main character, which is Cinderella, that she loses her glass slipper, and in the setting of the story, it has a fairy godmother who uses magic, and she lives in a house with her stepmom and stepsisters. Now, let's analyze the next story of Snow White. In Snow White, she has an evil queen. That's when we're talking about the characters. And the problem is that, or we can say the plot in a story, she eats a poisoned apple. What about the setting? In Snow White, she lives with 7 dwarfs in the woods. Okay, so we have been clear about the differences between the two traditional stories that we are familiar with. Now let's take a look at the similarity in this Venn diagram. In Cinderella and Snow White, they both are traditional fairy tales. We know them like from a long time ago, since we were small. And maybe your mom or your dad or your aunt or your uncle told you the story. And then in both stories, they have a kind and beautiful girl as the main character. And also, in Cinderella and Snow White, they both have magic in the story. Now, you know the similarities between these two traditional fairy tales. Okay, heroes, what have we learned about this lesson today? Now, when you want to write a story of your own that you write yourself, maybe you can think about the traditional fairy tales that you have known or you have watched or you have read before, and try to find the similarities that you can use in your own story. Now, we can call it as an inspiration, right? So, when you are writing a story, you can use some of the characters, maybe the plot, you can change it a bit, and maybe you can change the names, but you can use your original idea to write your own story, right? Now, if you love this video, you can give it a like, comment, subscribe, and share. Now let's grow and learn together with Hero Academy. See you in the next video. Goodbye.